The crimson light of Xylar Prime bled across the vast chamber, reflecting off the polished obsidian floors and the shimmering, crystalline forms of the Zidon Council members. Silence, thick and heavy as the vacuum between stars, had fallen upon the assembly. Usually the murmur of countless thoughts, the subtle shift of chitinous exoskeletons, the delicate bioluminescence of the krill delegates, all served as a constant symphony within this hallowed space. Today, however, only the rhythmic pulse of the chamber's life support and the nervous flicker of the holographic displays broke the oppressive quiet. 1,000 eyes, multifaceted and ancient, were fixed upon a single point of light, a newly translated distress signal originating from the fringes of the Andromeda galaxy. A signal that spoke of humans, and something more, something that had the power to shatter the fragile peace of the Galactic Concordat. The lead Xylon, Cathar, a being of immense intellect and even greater suspicion, shifted slightly within his gravity chair. His exoskeletal plating clicked, a sound that echoed unnaturally loud in the silence. He raised a manipulator, its delicate pincers twitching, and the holographic projection magnified. The signal, a fragmented transmission containing images, data, and a disconcerting emotional residue, had been picked up by a recon fleet weeks ago. Initial analysis had been inconclusive. Now, with the sudden disintegration of a research station bordering human space, it was painfully, terrifyingly clear what the humans were doing. They were fighting a war unlike any the Concordat had ever witnessed, and it was being fought with weaponry that defied known physics. Weaponry that, according to the transmission, was fueled by dark matter. "Reports are disturbing," Cathar intoned, his voice a low rumble that resonated through the chamber. He directed his gaze towards the delegates. The destruction of the station was comprehensive, no survivors. The weaponry, it simply erased it. The energy signatures are unlike anything we have previously encountered. We are looking at a weapon that manipulates the fabric of space itself. A weapon based upon dark matter and something we still do not understand. Something from a species we barely know. His internal processors whirred, attempting to reconcile the data with existing galactic understanding. He needed to understand before humanity's weapon was pointed towards the very core of the Galactic Union. The krill delegates, a hive-minded species known for their unwavering pragmatism, buzzed with agitation. Their bioluminescent patterns flickered rapidly, a visual representation of their communal unease. The krill had always advocated for cautious diplomacy, but the prospect of a dark matter war raging on the galactic rim was a threat they, of all species, recognized with a chilling clarity. The potential for catastrophic energy surges, the risk of destabilizing entire star systems. The consequences were almost too terrible to contemplate. One of the krill delegates, designated Communicator Alpha 7, projected its thoughts directly into the chamber. The human capabilities have been underestimated. Their swift rise to technological maturity has been the subject of conjecture for many cycles. The bioluminescent pattern shifted, adopting a stark crimson hue. This demonstrates an exponential leap beyond anything we had predicted. We must assess the threat immediately, before we are all consumed in their conflict. Across the chamber, the elegant, crystalline form of the Lyrian ambassador, Elara, remained motionless. The Lyrians, masters of art, music, and philosophical contemplation, were often considered ethereal and detached from the practicalities of war. However, they were also keen observers, and Elara had been watching the humans with a curiosity that bordered on obsession. She had read their literature, studied their history, and even attempted to decipher the complex tapestry of their emotional expressions. She spoke, her voice a melodic chime that echoed through the chamber. "The humans, we know so little about them. We classified them as a pre-FTL species, incapable of interstellar travel, confined to their solar system. This changes everything. What do we know of their motivation? What do they desire?" Cathar shifted again, his manipulator brushing against the control panel. He had prepared for this council meeting for months, poring over every available scrap of information. Their motivations remain unclear. Pre-Concordat communications suggest a species driven by territorialism, resource acquisition, and a peculiar form of self-destructive conflict. They have a propensity for large-scale wars, even against themselves, but their recent actions are more complex. He paused, his gaze sweeping over the assembled delegates. The destroyed research station had been observing a human fleet. No aggressive action had been initiated, no threats delivered. The station was simply obliterated, a preemptive strike, a declaration of war. Another voice, a guttural growl that reverberated through the chamber, came from the Grug delegate, a massive reptilian being from a planet known for its harsh environments and its warrior culture. "Preemptive? Then let us crush them before they crush us. The humans appear to be a threat. If they can build these weapons, then they may be a threat to us. They must be destroyed, or we will be. The Grugs had always favored a decisive, aggressive approach. Their philosophy was simple: strength through overwhelming force. Alara countered, her voice retaining its melodic tone. Destroying them without understanding them would be a grave mistake. Consider the cultural exchange programs that have been set up in the past. We have made some progress. We are on the precipice of understanding them. We need diplomacy, not war. We have already lost far too many to conflict, and now it will be the humans who destroy us. The debate raged on, fueled by fear, uncertainty, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the human species. The Concordat had faced many challenges in its long history, but this was different. This was a force that defied their understanding of the universe, a weapon that could unravel the very fabric of reality. The humans, they were a riddle wrapped in an enigma, and they held the key to their own destruction, and potentially the destruction of the entire galaxy. Cathar, attempting to steer the conversation towards a more rational direction, called for a brief recess. He had spent the previous cycle preparing contingency plans, and a swift course of action needed to be found. As the delegates dispersed, their anxieties simmering beneath the surface, Cathar remained seated, his gaze fixed on the holographic projection of the destroyed station. He needed to understand the human weapon. He needed to understand the humans themselves, before it was too late. He activated the secure channel to the Concordat's primary intelligence service, the Spectre network. He needed all the intel they had compiled on humans, and he needed it now. The fate of the Concordat, perhaps the fate of the galaxy, hung in the balance. The Spectre network, a vast and intricate web of data collection and analysis, was tasked with monitoring all extraterrestrial activity. Their top analysts immediately began to pull together all available data on the humans, attempting to piece together a coherent picture of their capabilities, motivations, and the true extent of their dark matter weaponry. Days turned into weeks, each cycle of data revealing a more complicated picture. Their technology was far more advanced than initial assessments had indicated. Their defensive systems were remarkably sophisticated, and most unsettling of all, their ethical code, as far as could be determined, was complex. Not the barbarism that the Grugs thought they saw, not the self-destructive tendencies that had been feared, but complex. The Spectre agents discovered records of human diplomacy, human art, human philosophy. They discovered a curious emphasis on exploration and understanding. They discovered a surprising level of cooperation. And most importantly, they discovered a hidden message, a carefully encoded transmission buried within the data stream of the initial distress signal. It was a message of peace, a message of cooperation. Cathar, after weeks of painstaking analysis, stood before the council once more. The chamber was tense, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. The preliminary intelligence reports had been distributed. The delegates had had time to absorb the new information. The Grugs, in particular, had been agitated, their initial call for immediate extermination now tempered by a reluctant acknowledgement of the humans' technological prowess. The Krill, ever pragmatic, had begun to consider the possibility of a strategic alliance. Cathar cleared his throat, his voice resonating through the chamber. The Spectre network has completed its analysis. The data is far more extensive than initially believed. The humans, they are not what we thought. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. Their weaponry is indeed based on dark matter, but the targeting system, the control mechanism, are designed to engage hostile threats only, not the indiscriminate slaughter the Grugs predicted. It's a defense system, not an offensive one. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Grug ambassador, who had been leaning forward, now leaned back, his scales shifting in a flicker of confusion. Furthermore, Cathar continued, the distress signal was not a cry for help. It was a warning from the humans themselves. Their research station was attacked by an unknown third party. This third party also has dark matter capabilities. The humans fought to protect themselves. They fought to protect us. Silence. The Krill communicator, its bioluminescence pulsing steadily, was the first to speak. The implications are significant. If the humans were attacked, then they are not the aggressors. If they are defending us, then we must align ourselves with them. Alara, her crystalline form radiating an almost ethereal light, nodded slowly. They seek understanding. They seek cooperation. We should respond in kind. The Grug ambassador, however, remained skeptical. We have no proof of this third party. Only the words of the humans themselves. We should still assume they are a threat. Cathar projected the Spectre's final analysis. We have undeniable proof. The human fleet, in a bold and unexpected move, has contacted the Spectre network directly. They have offered to provide us with their dark matter technology. They have offered to collaborate with us, to fight alongside us against the unknown threat. A collective gasp went through the chamber. The Grug ambassador sputtered with outrage. The Krill, however, buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose. Cathar continued, his voice calm yet firm. "We have a decision to make. Do we fear them, or do we trust them?" He paused. "I have reviewed the information. It is difficult to accept, but my conclusion is that the humans seek an alliance. They seek peace, not war. They are, in fact, the only species who could potentially aid us." The screen flickered. A new image appeared, a human vessel, sleek and powerful, with a hull of dark, almost invisible material. It was a dark matter warship, a symbol of humanity's power, but it was also a symbol of hope. The Grug ambassador, after a moment of stunned silence, finally spoke, his voice tinged with grudging respect. "They are formidable." The lead Xylon, Cathar, nodded. "Indeed, they are, and they are waiting." The next few cycles were a whirlwind of activity. The Concordat, led by Cathar, cautiously accepted the human offer of collaboration. Diplomats were dispatched. Scientists exchanged data. Military strategists began to formulate a plan. The humans, in turn, proved to be efficient, capable, and surprisingly patient. Their representatives, calm and collected, explained their technology, their strategies, their culture. They were not driven by greed or aggression or the desire for conquest. They were driven by a sense of responsibility. A responsibility to protect themselves, to protect others, to explore the vast unknown. A human diplomat, a woman named Dr. Evelyn Reed, stood before the council. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, a calm demeanor, and a voice that held a surprising depth of conviction. She spoke in the shared galactic language, carefully crafted to be understood by all species, her words translated by a universal translator. "We have faced many trials as a species, wars, famines, the existential threat of our own self-destruction, but through it all we have endured. We have learned that the greatest strength is not the power to destroy, but the will to protect. We have learned that the greatest weapon is not the dark matter warship, but the human spirit. And now we offer that spirit, that weapon, to you." She paused, her gaze sweeping over the assembled delegates. "We understand your hesitation, we understand your fear, but we are here not to conquer, we are here to fight for a future where all species can thrive, a future where the darkness cannot consume us all." Her words resonated throughout the chamber. The humans, the feared, the misunderstood, had become the saviors, the unlikely allies. The details of the alliance were finalized. Human warships, fueled by dark matter, joined the Concordat's fleet. Human tactical officers worked alongside Krill strategists. Human scientists shared their knowledge of dark matter with Lyrian researchers. The Concordat was changing, growing, evolving, and with the humans at their side, they became a force to be reckoned with. The war began. The unknown threat, an aggressive expansionist species from a galaxy far, far away, launched a massive assault on the Concordat's outer territories. They fought with brute force, with overwhelming numbers, with technology that at first seemed to match the dark matter weaponry of the humans. But the humans were not just about their weapons. They were about strategy. They were about innovation. They were about the human will to never give up. Human warships, virtually invisible against the backdrop of space, darted in and out of the enemy formations, launching precision strikes that crippled their opponents. Human tactical officers, with their unwavering logic and their unpredictable strategies, outmaneuvered the enemy at every turn. Human engineers, working alongside the Krill and the Lyrians, developed new technologies, new weapons, new strategies, faster than the enemy could adapt. The war was long and brutal. Many ships were lost, many lives were sacrificed. But in the end, the alliance prevailed. The unknown enemy was defeated, their expansion was halted, the galaxy was saved. The victory, however, was bittersweet. The cost of war was immeasurable, and the true nature of the dark matter threat was still a mystery. As the war came to an end, the humans again proved their mettle. They did not celebrate, did not gloat, did not demand tribute. They simply began the task of rebuilding. They worked alongside the other species of the Concordat to heal the wounds of war, to rebuild what had been lost, and to create a more secure, more prosperous future. One of the last acts of the war was the discovery of a signal ancient but still active, originating from a long-lost megastructure. The discovery came by an exploratory human scouting team. The megastructure, a massive, abandoned complex of unknown purpose, was located near the galactic core. When the human scouting vessel first came into view of the megastructure, the sensor readings went haywire. The energy signatures coming from the structure were off the charts. The crew of the vessel were ordered to remain calm as they approached. The complex was larger than any starship. The structure looked to be abandoned long ago. But why? Dr. Reed, standing beside Cathar and the leaders of the allied species, looked over the newly decoded information with a look of worry. The source of the transmission is a star that has been long abandoned. It predates the Concordat, even the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. We do not understand the purpose of this structure. She pointed to a holographic representation of the megastructure. We believe it might be a communication device, a beacon of sorts. Cathar's processors were working furiously, trying to calculate the implications. A message? From whom? The answer came quickly as the message fully decrypted. A voice, clear and concise, echoed through the chamber, translated into the common language. It spoke of a purpose, a warning, and a vast, cosmic horror that dwarfed even the unknown enemy that had just been defeated. It spoke of a threat far greater than war. It spoke of something called the Architects. The voice continued, its tone strangely indifferent, almost clinical. We are the architects. We seeded the stars, cultivated life, and built a universe. We are the keepers of existence. We once saw a threat that would destroy everything. It has always been in the shadows, the great rot. It is an extra-dimensional force that seeks to consume all matter and energy. It will erase everything. The message continued, revealing a truth that changed everything. We created the dark matter technology to combat the rot, but we failed. We have abandoned our posts. You are the last line of defense. Now you must choose. You have been chosen. Your existence is all that matters. You will save us, or you will die. The choice is yours. Silence. The revelation hit the assembled council members like a physical blow. The war they had just fought, the sacrifices they had made, were merely a prelude to something far more terrifying. The universe itself was at stake. Dr. Reed turned to Cathar, her eyes filled with a new kind of resolve. We were never fighting for the Concordat, or ourselves. We were fighting for the universe. The dark matter war was just the beginning. Cathar looked at her, then turned to the other council members. The Grug ambassador, who had been on the verge of declaring a new war against the humans, now sat in stunned silence. The Krill, their bioluminescence flickering in anticipation, began to communicate with each other in rapid-fire bursts of thought. The Lyrian ambassador, her crystalline form emanating a soft, almost ethereal glow, looked towards the blackness of space with a look of calm contemplation. We understand the threat, Cathar said, his voice echoing with newfound gravity, and we will face it. He turned to Dr. Reed, his expression now serious. What must we do? Dr. Reed took a deep breath. We have a plan. We must begin to prepare. The plan will require us to explore the cosmos in ways that we never have before. We will need to learn the technology that the architects have made. We will need to seek help and build an alliance. We must look at what lies in the darkness of space, for they are coming. The time to prepare is now. She paused. We will need to look to those who are still out there, those who have not encountered us or been consumed. The galaxy is vast. The threat is bigger. We will need to use the powers of everything that we have learned. We will need our allies. We will need ourselves. We will need the dark matter technology. We will need the humans. And as the council turned towards the distant stars, united in their understanding of the threat that awaited them, the screen displayed a final image, a visual representation of what the great rot might look like. A swirling, chaotic vortex of darkness, devouring everything in its path. And at the bottom of the screen, in elegant, ancient script, appeared the word, Begin. Galactic Council fell silent that day, not in fear, but in solemn resolve. They knew their journey was just beginning. They had faced war, they had faced fear, but now they would face something far greater. They would face the darkness itself. And in that moment, as the first human dark matter warship began to accelerate towards the unknown, the galaxy knew, deep in its ancient heart, that humanity, in its infinite complexity and its unwavering spirit, held the fate of the universe in its hands. It was the beginning of an alliance. It was the beginning of a war. It was the beginning of a story that would echo through the cosmos for eons to come, the story of humanity's dark matter warships, and the day the Galactic Council fell silent. The council members, including Cathar, understood that their reality had changed forever. Before they met the humans, they had only known their planet. Now they knew there was a universe that needed to be protected. They knew that their alliances with the humans would never be tested. The test would be the darkness. Their journey had only begun, and there was no turning back.